Hopefully in this video, you'll be learning how to buy Bitcoin because truth be told, if you're looking to buy Bitcoin at the beginning, it's quite complicated for the most part, right?
Certainly can be, yeah.
It certainly can be. You hear some convoluted stories about, wait a second, someone got robbed for Bitcoin. What is this? Where do I buy it? And you're like, you have this hesitation. So hopefully Ethan and I, today we'll be educating you on what we believe are the safest but also easiest, those kind of contradictory sometimes, sometimes, but safest and easiest way to purchase, say, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, before we begin, I want Ethan to introduce himself.
Right. So, yeah, my name is Ethan. I've been in the space since 2012. I really wish I had caught some of the early investment advice when it was like 25 cents per Bitcoin to pick it up. Yeah. We all wish we were there. But yeah, so I've been in the space for a long time. Used to do a radio show. I think actually our radio show that I was involved in was the first live to air commercial radio broadcast that was Bitcoin related. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, there's been so much development in this space. And as the space develops and as people get more interested in it, you get more people who want to buy it because they want to find out about it. In fact, friends of mine, they go back to visit friends and family and they tell them what they've heard from me, and then they come back and tell me, my friends and family, they all want to know about this Bitcoin stuff and how do you buy it and how do you get your hands on it and what's going on in the space. So yeah, lots of interest, and people who are new to it, they got to figure out how it is they get into it, right?
So what do you think right now is one of the simplest ways for somebody we'll just focus for Bitcoin for now, right? What do you think is one of the simplest and safest ways for, let's say, a mom and pa to buy Bitcoin?
There are so many ways, as you mentioned earlier, and sometimes simple and safe doesn't go together.
Yeah.
But I think that if you look at a market like localbitcoins.com, for instance, that's a popular market where people will trade cash for Bitcoin. There are scams on there, though, for instance, right?
So it's like the Kijiji for Bitcoin.
That's right, exactly. Totally like the Kijiji for Bitcoin. And you have to just like when you're buying a bicycle off of Kijiji that might be stolen or something, right? You really have to kind of keep in your mind that you're dealing with strangers. You have to look at ratings and past reviews of people. That's something that local Bitcoin actually incorporates into its system, which makes for a safer system. Is you totally can, if you want to, buy Bitcoin from the brand new user account who's got, Smith123 as its username. And it might work out, but chances are that might be pretty darn risky. Or you can approach these merchants that have been on local Bitcoin for 5 years. They were there when it started. They've got 1,000 bits of feedback and review. You look for that. You look for those people who will be able to trade Bitcoin for you. And really, it's about as simple as install a wallet on your phone, right? And you get
and when you mean by wallet, you're talking about let's kind of dive in deep for a wallet.
Sure.
So what's the simplest explanation you can give somebody? What is a wallet?
A wallet is a place where your Bitcoin addresses live, and your Bitcoin addresses are where your Bitcoin live.
Okay.
Right?
Let's say a wallet is a digital version of your actual physical wallet you have in your pocket.
Yeah.
A little bit different, obviously. We won't get into technicalities of it. And I always tell people it's almost like the same thing as if you want to use online banking. So suppose if you logging in, like for example, online banking, let's say you're TD, you got to log in, give your password, yada, yada, yada. Think of that, but without all the hassle and without TD owning your wallet. You own it. It's yours on your phone. You have access. You don't have to worry about passwords because it's encrypted in a different manner. But that's what it is. It's a digital platform on your phone or on a desktop or on other devices, which you have access towards the crypto that you buy.
Right, exactly. So you get something like this on your phone.
Yes.
And it's as simple as showing your address, your public address to somebody else. So you kind of open up your wallet for somebody else.
Like, here, give me money.
Stuff cash in there.
That's right.
And it's pretty much that simple, right? They'll send the people who you're buying from. If you meet them in person, they'll send money. They'll send Bitcoin to your wallet. You'll give them physical cash that you're more familiar with, right? And at that point, it's a simple exchange. That's it.
So would you say local Bitcoins is a good start for some people?
I would say it is.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say it's a good start because it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't take a lot to set up an account on local Bitcoins. It's pretty straightforward.
So let's kind of summarize. So before you get to local Bitcoin, you need to get yourself a Bitcoin wallet.
That's right.
Do you recommend any wallets?
I mean, there's so many good wallets out there. I mean, my favorite is the Jax wallet.
Jax is a good multi-currency, yeah.
It's a good multi-currency wallet. I think if you're looking for something a little bit more basic, you'd probably go with the blockchain.info wallet.
Or Bread.
Or Bread wallet. That's
worst name ever. Bread.
But good wallet, right?
Good wallet. Great wallet, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of good wallets out there. Definitely when you're looking for wallets, you do want to go to reputable sources. Like for instance, I know on blockgeeks.com, we have some wallet information there, right?
Yeah, we have a guide. I'll make sure I'll link it below this video.
So you go to reputable sources to look for wallets that you might want to start to use, because if you just search out any wallet software, again, this is a space where you do need to be aware of the potential for getting ripped off and scammed.
That's right.
It's a possibility.
So if we summarize, get yourself the wallet that we don't have a preference per se. Like I said, we have a guide for the best wallets that we think for Block Geeks. There's a link below. But get yourself a wallet. You can go to local Bitcoins, register yourself like any other website, and then pretty much find people with great ratings who've been there for a while. No different than if you and I go for like TripAdvisor and we're like, hey, ratings for this resort, garbage. All right, I'm not doing business with them. Or five stars out of 5, great, I'm going over there. So no difference in that. You meet up, and when you meet up, they first give you the Bitcoin.
It
depends on the person, I guess.
It depends on the person, because I mean, you have to understand that, especially when you're new and you're on this website, you are essentially the unknown character.
Unknown person,
right?
yes.
So as long as you're dealing with people who have a very good history, you might expect some of them to say, look, well, I will want you to give me money first, and then I'll give you the Bitcoin. Because for them, it's a security issue where if you get Bitcoin from them, there's no way for them to get it back.
Sure.
So if you just run off,
that's right.
So that's a risk for them too.
That's
risk is shared on this platform.
Yes.
There's a lot of different angles to this, but it's very simple. Just sign up. There's a chat interface, so you can talk to this person before you meet them, and you'll essentially hammer out the terms of your trade.
So fantastic. So that's local Bitcoin is number one. What would you say is a secondary option?
Well, actually, there is an option. We were talking about this off camera. There's an option right here in Canada that's Quick BT, right?
Yes, the Interac.
Yeah, and that is very simple, and that you're pretty much eliminating any of the risk that we talked about with local Bitcoin, right? So go to quickbt.com. You can buy limited amounts of Bitcoin with Interac. So
it's super simple. It's fast, secure. Quickbt.com. Put your Interac in it. I do want to state this caveat though. It's not an Interac Visa. It has to be a traditional Interac, the old school Interac, not Interac Visa. Type in your Interac. It's going to say, hey, do you accept these payments? Yes, I do. I believe the limit's $200 a day for Interac. Yeah. But it's pretty simple, quick, and secure like this.
There is actually, I know a couple of years ago or a year ago when I was using it a little bit more regularly, there is a tier where you can get into like an invite.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yes,
so you can actually start,
once you have more trust.
Yeah. And again, that's the trust thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to make note that the reason that trust thing is there is because Bitcoin transactions are irreversible.
Yes, they are.
Once Bitcoin are sent, that's it.
Refund, please.
So that, I mean, whenever you're buying Bitcoin, you have to think of that as one of the transaction dynamics that exist is when you get Bitcoin, it's all yours and nobody can take it back from you. So that is a level of risk. So but that is a really simple way.
Okay.
Quickbt.com. I love that website.
Yeah, I love it. So let's go to number 3. Let's start talking about exchanges.
Sure. Before exchanges, do you want to talk about BTMs? Because that's another really simple way.
Yeah, we can talk about them. Sure.
Just really quickly. I mean, if you do find a Bitcoin ATM machine in your neighborhood, those are pretty simple too. And usually all you need is a phone number.
Yes.
So the BTM will text you a confirmation code.
When we meant BTM, we're talking a little bit about Bitcoin ATM. Like an ATM for Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, but those are pretty simple because really you just plug cash into the machine.
Yes.
Right? So, so a lot of Bitcoin ATMs or BTMs, they can actually give you cash as well if you send them.
Yeah, Bitcoin. You can buy and sell.
So they go both ways. So it's really simple just because it's just a machine you walk up to. It's like a vending machine, right? So really easy. If you do find a Bitcoin ATM in your local neighborhood, I think it's worth checking out.
I do want to state though, some of them do have high fees though.
That's true.
It's like 10%. So
yeah, some of them are.
Some of them are high, some of them are low. So I do suggest that you figure out what's the transaction fee that you're paying.
Right, and it's not a bad idea to contact the operator if you can find out the information who runs it.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea to contact them directly by email or something and just kind of, how much do you charge? Because I have seen BTMs that actually charge a 0% fee.
That's good. Sign me up.
Very rare, but I have seen it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when it comes to exchanges, it's worth mentioning that it can be very difficult.
Yes.
In comparison to all of the options we've talked about already. Right?
Yeah. So we've gone from barrier of entry from zero and incrementally getting harder.
Sure.
So local Bitcoin's pretty zero, and we'll explain to you in a second why. And then we went to Quick BT, it's pretty zero, just your Interac card, and then BTM, where you physically have to go there.
Sure.
So now we're getting to exchanges, which you have to go through a process, a waiting period, approval period, a KYC system, and based on exchanges. And this is really determined on where you live. So we might make suggestions for certain exchanges that you may not have access to.
Right.
So basically what we're talking about right now as Canadians, we'll be speaking about what we have access to as Canadians.
Yeah, eh?
Yeah, eh? Totally, eh? Do you see that moose over there, eh?
Shut up, you hoser. So exchanges in Canada, like exchanges in most any other country, they have to operate under AML and KYC laws, which is anti-money laundering and know your customer laws, right? These are regulations that prevent financial fraud in the banking system, or at least try to prevent it. So when you're setting up an exchange account, have you ever opened a brokerage account for trading stocks, that kind of thing?
No, I haven't. No.
So I've done that, and that's a complicated process.
Yes.
You have to provide identification. You have to give them all of your personal information. Setting up a Bitcoin exchange account is slightly less complicated than that. So if you've ever opened up a brokerage account online for a discount brokerage firm, then opening up a Bitcoin exchange account would be a little bit less onerous than that, right? But yeah, that is everything you mentioned. It's you have to be able to provide personal documentation, so photo ID. You have to provide things like utility bills to prove your address. You have to prove who you are, right? If you want to withdraw Canadian dollars from the exchange, you have to send them a check and a debit. What do you call those things? The automatic withdrawal forms.
Direct deposit.
Yeah, direct deposit form. Right, exactly. So you have to provide things like that. When you're opening up an exchange account, that's what you have to keep in mind, is you're going to have to provide a lot of information about who you are. Yeah. Because you are opening up a regulated account in a regulated sort of industry.
Because basically what you're doing is you're connecting your bank account to the bank account that represents the exchange. So based on that, you have to go through the processes of making sure that you're not money laundering. Right. So they're going to ask you for verification, whether it's birth certificate, driver's license, or passport. They'll ask you for a utility bill to prove that you're living somewhere. You're going to have to scan all these documents up to their platform. It's going to take them sometimes 2 days, sometimes a week. I've heard sometimes 2 weeks, depending on.
Don't even be surprised if this lasts. When Bitcoin especially gets overheated and lots of people get interested in it, exchanges suffer massive amounts of traffic. Those backlogs I've seen as long as a month.
Wow.
Not typical, right? But I've seen it get that bad. So, I mean, that's something you want to keep in mind too, is there's a review period, just like you said. And also, don't be surprised if exchanges ask you even for a picture of you holding your identification.
For Kraken, I had Kraken's like that. Actually, that's the only one I'm aware of. Just for
CoinSquare does that.
CoinSquare too, yeah.
CoinSquare, actually, CoinSquare is my favorite exchange, by the way. I love CoinSquare.io. Free plug, guys. Should see some ether in my account.
Address below.
But like you have to be aware that all of this information is going to be requested of you, and the reason for that is because of all of the regulation. You are proving who you are. You are proving that you are not a ghost.
That's right. So once you're on there, it's pretty easy from there.
Sure. So once you're on there, it's pretty simple. They'll have various different deposit methods. So you can maybe direct deposit cash. You can wire them money,
transfers,
right? You can send email money transfers.
Interact with something too.
Some exchanges use something called FlexPin, which is you just go to a corner store, you buy this little FlexPin card, enter a code, and it's instantly in your account, right? So there are a lot of different funding options. Some of these options typically come with a cost. For instance, you might find that if you're wiring money to an exchange, it will cost you money at your bank to wire, and then it will cost you money to even have it deposited in your exchange, because the exchange on the other end their bank charges them to receive the wire.
That's right. Double charge.
Yeah. So you all of these exchanges should lay out pretty clearly the charges that they'll associate with your deposit options, but that's something to keep in mind.
So you mentioned one already. Maybe give us another one that you kind of recommend.
Quadriga CX.
Quadriga, yeah.
They are currently the largest exchange in Canada for crypto. They're definitely a popular exchange. They're not my favorite, but they are a popular exchange. They do have a lot of funding options, so solid option, I guess. They've got a good reputation.
Why do you like Coin as opposed to Kraken?
Well, you mean CoinSquare?
Yeah.
So the reason I like CoinSquare is partially because it's right here where I live in the Greater Toronto area. I kind of like that there's a local company here.
Yeah.
The person who runs it is very much into trying to advance crypto and trying to get people involved, right? And it's just a solid exchange. I mean, here's the thing. If you have an exchange run by a mathematician, this is a guy who is absolutely focused on trying to make sure that this exchange is solid and usable. I really enjoy it. But it's just got adequate liquidity. It's just a good exchange, a good solid exchange. But all the other ones are really not bad. Even there's a new one in Canada that's just starting up. I think it's easybtc.ca or .com.
Okay.
EZBTC. And they're a neat exchange. They've got a lot of different deposit options, but very new, so the liquidity is very low. And if you're buying Bitcoin on an exchange, you really want to go where the liquidity is, because you're going to get the best market price.
So let's recap everything. Number one, from the beginning, we got local Bitcoins. Number two, we got Quick BT for Interact. Number three is Bitcoin ATMs. And finally, number four is the exchanges.
Right.
So there you have it. That's our summary of how to buy Bitcoin. And when we mean by how to buy Bitcoin, this is also applicable to many other currencies as well.
Sure.
You have Ethereum as well, at least the big ones, the ones with market caps of at least more than $100 million, right? What I recommend for you is don't just take our word for granted. Do your own research. Look up other people. Like I said, it really does matter where you live, what country you're in, geopolitics of your area as well. But for the most part, this is mainly applicable for most people. My suggestion, like always, educate yourself first. Don't just accept information as is. Understand the concepts as opposed to just knowing the concepts. So any last questions?
Just be aware. There's a slight learning curve, and it's okay. It's okay. Everybody I've spoken to has had some difficulty easing into the space.
Of course.
Because it's new. So don't be intimidated by a learning curve. It's just going to be there for you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Ethan.
Thanks a bunch.